everyone, welcome to yet another video tutorial of CSE 110. My name is Ramkrishna Saha and I am one of your instructors of this course this semester. In this video, we will be covering lists in Python. So let's get started. So before I start lists, if you remember from what we have learned so far, in a variable in Python, we could only store one value, be it a string, be it an integer, or be it a boolean value. In all of these cases, a variable could store only one value of only one data type, but list on the other hand can store multiple values of different data types. So this is an advantage of using lists. In other programming languages, lists are somewhat similar to that of arrays. So list is a data structure to hold sequential collection of values in a single variable, meaning in a single variable I can store multiple values of multiple data types in a sequential order. There are several benefits of using lists. Number one, can have any number of items. Unlike variables, we can hold more than one values here, and this does not have any limit. Number two, dynamic. I do not have to specify any fixed size and can easily add or remove elements. If you have done programming before in other programming languages such as Java, you will know that to declare arrays, you need to specify the range. But in the case of lists in Python, they are dynamic and we do not have to specify any fixed range. I can easily add or remove elements. Number three, heterogeneous. It means there can be multiple elements of multiple different data types in a list. Even in the later slides, you'll see that a list can also hold multiple lists. So each item in a list has an index value, meaning it has a specific location. The index range or the position ranges from 0 to n-1, and this n is the length of the list. So how do we create lists? A list is represented and created by enclosing all the elements inside a square bracket and separated by commas. In the first example, I am creating an empty list. So the name of the variable I am using is createList. To declare a list, I have used the square brackets, and inside the square brackets there are no elements, meaning there is an empty list created and it is stored in the variable createList. In the second example, the variable is also named createList, and in this case there are 4 integers stored in this list. So I understood this is a list by, as you can see, there are 2 square brackets, one at the beginning and one at the end. If you see square brackets, you'll understand these are lists. And in this list, there are 4 elements. So, and elements in a list have to be separated by commas. We have given commas here. In this createList variable, a list is stored. Inside the list, the first element is a string, the second is a float, the third is a boolean value, and the fourth is an integer. 4 different values of 4 different data types and containing in a list is stored in the variable createList. We can also create nested lists, meaning a list can contain a list. So in this variable createList, the first element is a string of CSE 111, the second is a float value of 3.90, and the third containing 2 integers and a float value. So a list can also contain lists. Now let's see how can we access the elements in a list. If you remember, we did string indexing in the last video. So accessing list elements is similar to that of string indexing. So just like strings, list can also be accessed using indexing method. The range is the same as we learned in string indexing. It starts from 0 and ends at n-1, where n is the length of the list. The index must be an integer. We saw these two in the string video. We'll get an error if we give an index outside this range. We also saw there are 2 indexing techniques, positive and negative. The positive indexing starts from 0 and gradually moves to the right up to n-1, and the negative indexing starts from -1 from the very end of the list and gradually moves leftwards. So this is the example we are given. We have created a list named players list, and this list contains 4 strings: Ronaldo, Messi, Neymar and Bale. Let's see how we can access the elements of this list. In the first line, we have just created a list. In the second line, we are using an index to extract an element from the list. So now you know this is the 0th index, this is the first index, this is the second index, and this is the third index. To get the value at the position 1, I need to write the name of the list and then square bracket. Inside the square bracket, I need to give the location, which is 1. Now, as I have given the location inside the name of the list, and if I print this, I will get Messi as an output. It shows that in the first location, I have the element Messi. Similarly, if I want to access the first element, I will write the name of the list, which is player list, then square bracket. Inside the square bracket, I'll write 0. 0 is for the first element of the list. So I'm getting Ronaldo in return. If you did not have the print statement here, please remember there would have been an output, but we wouldn't be able to see the output. And one example of negative indexing, if you want to access the last element of the list, we simply write the name of the list, and inside the square bracket we write -1 for the last element of the list. If we want the second last element of the list, we write here -2. If we want the third last element of the list, we write here -3, and so on. Let's look at an interesting example. What if there is a list inside a list? How would we access that? For that, we need to use the double square technique. And one more thing, this you know too from the last video. If you give an index outside this range, you will get an error. So my range was from 0 to 3, I gave here 5, so this is an error. We also know the indexes or positions must be in integers. We have given here floats, so this is also an error. Now coming back to this double square technique. In this example, I have created a list named players list, and inside this players list there are 3 elements. The first is a string Ronaldo, the second is a string Messi, and the third is a list of integers. What if I wanted to access the first element? I would have to write the name of the list, which is players list, and inside the square bracket I would have to write 0 if I wanted to access and get the element in the first location or the 0th index. So players list square bracket 0 would have given me Ronaldo. If I wanted to extract the second element of the list, I would have to write players list square bracket 1. And similarly, if I want to get the third element of the players list, I will have to write players list square bracket 2. As you can see, the third element in the players list is a list itself. So when I gave this players list square bracket 2, I got this list in return, which is a list containing the integers 15 and 12. So what if I wanted to access a list which is already inside a list? I would have to use the double square technique. So at first, I need to go to where the list is located inside the list. So in this case, the nested list or the list inside the list is located in an index of 2. So at first, I point to this. So players list square bracket 2 gives me this list. Now, if I wanted to get the first element of this inside list, I would have to write another square bracket and give 0 inside it. So as a result, I will get 15. What if I wanted to access the second element of this list? I also can write here -1, meaning this is the last element of this list which is present in the players list. So as a result, we have written players underscore list, which is the name of the list, then square bracket 2, I have pointed to the list inside the list, and then square bracket -1, meaning now I will access the last element of the list inside this bigger list, which is 12. We have previously learned about string mutability. Here we'll learn about list mutability. Strings were immutable, meaning once a string has been created, we could not modify, change or alter the characters in a string. However, lists are mutable, meaning I can change the elements inside of a list. I can add elements, I can delete elements, I can also alter the elements. Here again, we are using the players list example. We have a list containing 4 football players names: Ronaldo, Messi, Neymar and Bale. If I want to print the whole list, I just write print, give the name of the list variable, which is players list. If I print this list variable, I get the whole list printed in return. So output is Ronaldo, Messi, Neymar and Bale, the whole list itself. So what if I wanted to print the third element of this list, players underscore list, and then go to the location of 2, which is 0, 1 and 2, the third element of this list. So I get printed Neymar. Now I want to change the third element of this list. I want to change the element Neymar to Mbappe. At first we need to write the list variable, and then inside square brackets we give the index where we want to put in the new value, and then equal to, we actually put in the new value we want to put in the index location. So once Mbappe is copied onto the third location, which is in place of Neymar, the string Neymar gets automatically replaced and deleted. Now when I print the players list, got Ronaldo, Messi, Mbappe and Bale. So Neymar was no longer here, so Neymar was replaced by Mbappe. We just saw how can we change the elements in a list. Let's see how we can add elements to the list. The first is using an append function, second extend function, and the third is an insert function. The append function is used to add one item at the end of the list. So in this players list containing these 4 football players names, to add Ramos at the end of this list, I need to use the append function. At first I write the list variable dot, then write append. Append is for the append function. Inside the append function, as an argument, I pass on the string which I want to add to the players list. So in this case, in the players list, I want to append the string Ramos. So if I print the players list now, it will contain Ronaldo, Messi, Neymar and Bale like before, and Ramos is appended at the end. So previously my players list was length of 4. Now as I have appended a new string, my length is now 5. The second built-in function we will use is extend. The append function was used to append only one string value or one element. We use the extend function when we want to append multiple values at the same time. So in this case, we want to add PK and Casillas at the end of the players list. So I write it like this: the name of the list dot extend. I am using the extend function. Inside the extend function, I am passing on a list of strings which I want to add in the players list, which was this. So if I now print the players list, as you can see, Ronaldo to Ramos is printed right here, and at the end PK and Casillas is appended at the end of this players list. Lastly, let's look at the insert function. The insert function is used to one item to a list at a desired index location. So append and extend were used to add elements at the last of the list, but using the insert function, I can insert an element to my desired location. So in this case, I want to add the element Neuer in the third index. So the third index is 0, 1, 2 and 3. So now in the third index I have Bale, but I want Neuer to be in the third index. So when I write this line, Neuer gets inserted to the third index position. So 0, 1, 2 and 3. So as Neuer came in the third position, Bale became fourth, Ramos became fifth and so on. The value Neuer was squeezed in this location. So please note there are two arguments in the insert function. The first is the index value where we want to insert. This cannot be less than 0 or greater than the length of list. Also, this cannot be a floating point, or else we will have an error. And comma, we have to write the element we want to insert. In this case, Neuer was the element we wanted to insert. The insert function had two arguments. The extend function had one argument, which was a list, and the append function had one argument, which was a value. It can be a string, it can be a number, it can be a boolean, it can be anything.